everybody, and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. You're very welcome to our preview show, and we're looking ahead at round three of the Senior Championship, and this is the final round of the group stages. It's all knockout football from here on in. I'm delighted to be joined once again by Mark Beattie. And just before we start, a quick shout out to Capture Athletic and thank them for coming on board as our official podcast sponsor for the duration of the club championship. Mark, another big weekend coming in, as I say. It's the final round of the group stages. It's all knockout from here on in. It's pretty much knockout for some teams this week. There's a lot in the line for nearly everybody.
Some teams it's basically a knockout match for everybody because the teams at the top, Clonard, Rainmore, they're going to win. Hopefully win their group and then that gets a lot of teams will be hoping for that week's break to try and clear up any niggly injuries and just work on a few things and just gives them that wee bit of time to work on their next game. And then also for the teams at the bottom, most of the teams that are playing each other are sitting Peters, the Grange. Whoever wins that, if the Grange can get a win there, it'll knock the Peters out and Grange Cup. So there's a lot of teams most teams basically they've all got something to play for, which is it's going to make it really interesting and exciting sort of last match, few results last weekend that went sort of against our predictions have changed things up a bit. So there's in a couple of groups, there's maybe 2 or 3 teams can sort of hit the top spot as well as it could end up in the bottom position and go out.
Yeah, so we'll start with that with Friday night as usual. We'll go through all the games as they come. So Friday night, there's Crossmaglen and Mullabone on Friday night in Crossmaglen and Clonagale and Sarsfields on Friday night as well. It's on live on Armagh TV. Both games thrown in at the same time, 6:45. Basically in this group, it's Mullabone are gone. They were knocked out last week. And Cross and Clonagale, they're both on 3 points and Sarsfields have 2. So pretty much Crossmaglen are in the pole position since they play Mullabone, who've nothing to play for, to top the group. But I think everybody can still top their group. Sarsfields would need Mullabone to do them a massive favour and they need to win their own game. But it's going to take a lot of working out of all these groups, Mark, when it comes down to it. But I suppose starting with Cross and Mullabone, as I mentioned, Mullabone are out of the championship. They still have to fulfil the fixture. They have to go to Crossmaglen. It's just an unfortunate situation for Mullabone, having led at half time against Sarsfield by 6, led by 8 last week, that they now find themselves out of the championship. I'm sure they're kicking themselves.
Yeah, they're bound to be. Say I seen the Sarsfields game, 8 points up. It was there for them to go and win the game. They didn't do it, and then basically repeated itself again at the weekend against the Clans, where they were 8 points up. Looked like they were in control of the match, but again, Clans kicked on. Mullabone didn't respond, and now they find themselves out of it. Basically, all Mullabone's to play for is a bit of local pride. They're going to Crossmaglen. The last thing they want to be going to do and come away with just a real heavy defeat. So it's just about pride now for them to go and they give a performance, and if they do get in front or they get themselves in a good position, just to try and just basically get the best result that they possibly can and just show a bit of character and a bit of fight. That's all they can hope for. When the Cross, on the other hand, they'll be gunning to get a knock up a big score line and hopefully go through as leaders as said earlier, to try and get that week's break and work on a few things and get a few players back.
Yeah, it's going to be a big thing getting the top spot, Mark, in it, because as you mentioned, there's a few weeks breaks in it. You get to see everybody else playing. They all have to play an extra game, so that's Crossmaglen's main motivation, you would imagine, on Friday night.
That's it. That's Cross's goal. They'll want to win the group, and with Mullabone, if they don't go out and sort of show a bit of pride and a bit of character, then the Cross they'll do a job on them and they'll rack up a big score. So Mullabone don't want that to happen, and at the same time Cross will want to put up a big score line. The sort of scoring difference is probably going to come in that here. So that's the best that Mullabone can hope for. It's just try and keep the score sort of down and be competitive the whole way through, and Cross will just be looking to win by as many as possible to see themselves through in first place.
Clans and Sarsfields, obviously Clans, they had that opening day draw, the sort of smash and grab draw against Cross the first day. come back from 8 down at half time to win by 4 against Mullabone. You'd imagine confidence and belief and everything in that changing room's just sky high at the minute, Mark.
Sky high, yeah. As we spoke about last week, we asked the question: we knew the Clans would get up for big games, big teams. They'll get up for it. They'll be ready for it, and they'll produce a performance. The big question was: were they going to respond? How were they going to back it up with an all good performance the following week? But in some cases, people would say the first half, Nazi Mullabone getting the lead and all up. It looked like they weren't, but as you said, the confidence high in that changing room. They've come in at half time and the leaders have stood up and they've come out. O'Neill again, supposedly absolutely fantastic. McPartland, Soup, the whole lot of them, they're a team on the up, and the confidence is just getting better and bigger every single game. And it was a great win for them, and again, they've set themselves now in a position, you know, if they can rack up a big scoreline against Sarsfields and maybe Mullabone can keep the game tight, who knows here? Like, who knows? And with the confidence sky high in the Clans, if they can get ahead of the Sarsfields, who knows what they can do? They'll believe that they can beat the Sarsfields by as many as the Cross beat them by. That's the type of confidence that'll be in the Clans changing room. Like.
With Sarsfields, as you mentioned, they're coming off, I think it was 13 points Cross beat them by. But this is probably a different sort of game for them. They were heavy underdogs coming into that Cross game. But taking on the Clans, that bit of a derby feel to it as well, Mark. Maybe it comes into the
It
equation too.
does. It does. Basically, the Clans and Sorceries have always had a major rivalry for whatever reason. They just maybe going back the two teams, maybe in the 90s and stuff like that, would have been very close. Sorceries won their championship, and the Clans would always been in there winning them and close to them. So there's maybe been a bit of rivalry. It's always been there, a wee bit of history between them. A few feisty battles have happened as well between the two of them. But more so in Trasna, where the Sorceries would believe that they would definitely get a win. They seem to think that they have a wee hoodoo over the Clans when it comes to the Clans going down to Trasna. But in David Park, I think it just changes it a wee bit. I think the Clans will definitely, as we've already said, the confidence up. They'll totally believe they're going to win this game. And personally, I think that they will. I think that they're just in a better place at the moment, and I think this is a real good chance for them to. I don't know about winning by the 13 points, but I think they should be comfortable winners.
And the fact that Mullabone's out of it, Mark, does it take away a bit of bite from that game? That the fact that neither team can crash out in every other game. The bottom
Well,
two are playing off to avoid that bottom place.
I think naturally that in the back of the Sorceries' heads, they'll know that no matter what, that they're getting an all game and they're going to have a chance. But I think because it's the Clans, I think that will change it for the Sarsfields. That'll make them just a bit of local pride, and they'll want to go out and they'll want to get a result against them. Maybe in other groups that if it was that case and teams, it might be that, but I just think in this group that changes it slightly because just with that rivalry and the Sarsfields going to the Clans, they'll want to do a number on them.
So I think we're going crossing Clans here for this one. Mark
They
will
are,
start our
they are.
predictions, and somebody's going to let us down, but sure.
Yeah,
It's something to talk about during the week for them teams, I suppose.
yeah.
Moving on then, Saturday we have Group A, and it's Clevie and Ballymacnab at 4:15. That one's live on Armagh TV, and then with Drummondtee and Mahary at the same time. That's in Drummondtee. We'll start with the Clevie and Ballymacnab game, I suppose, Mark. Two teams coming in at different angles, I suppose.
Mhm.
Ballymacnab coming in off the high of their big win over Drummondtee last week. Well, Clevie just defeated by Mahary somewhat surprisingly, I suppose. We did say and we have said over the last couple of weeks how difficult a place Mahary is to go, but we felt Clevie would have been too strong for them. So Clevie going to come in here with a point to prove, and they can still reach that top spot as well.
Yeah, no, Kalevi. To be fair to Kalevi, at the way it was at the game, and I thought it was a good, intense, real hard hitting match. And Mockery were a lot better organised, a lot more intensity they brought to the game. Last weekend. So Kalevi, we're coming in maybe full of confidence, getting a real good win, no local derby against Drummond. Maybe got I'm not saying complacent, but you know, we're going into that game feeling that they were one of the top teams and that they were going to do a number on Mockery, but you know they responded to the week before, and this has happened with a few teams as we know over last weekend where teams that didn't perform the week before have come out fighting and really put up a performance. And Mockery set up sort of defensively, and once they broke Kalibi down, they went away in the break. And once Kalibi sort of entered the Mockery forward line, they just couldn't break them tackles. You know, the Mockery men back in numbers, and they were snatching at shots, and I think it was a total of 15 or 16 wides in the game. So that's what Tommy and James is going to have to be looking at, you know, for this weekend and moving forward. They're going to have to find another forward, you know, and O'Hanlon just had a quieter game than he had the week before. O'Neill was good, but still wasn't threatening going, you know, an attacking way. So they're just going to need to try and find somebody else or just get the ball. And I heard Tommy loads of times on the line just roaring to get the ball in quicker. And I think that's what they need to do. You know, sometimes they're just slowing it up, and it sort of suited Mockery last weekend. So yeah, Kalibi have all to play for, but and they'll naturally be looking top spot if they genuinely believe they are the contenders that a lot of people think they are. So this is a perfect match for them because, as you know, and you know, Ballymacnabb is one of the top contenders now. I'm sure that you're definitely going to tell me after last weekend. So you know, it's a big game, big game for Kalibi to prove a point, because I do think after last weekend, Ballymacnabb have moved themselves up a wee notch there.
Do you think will this be a more open game, Mark? Because obviously you were saying about Maher getting a lot of men behind the ball. The way Ballymacnabb are with, you know, Jack Grugan, Kieran Hughes, Gavin McParnell up front, Rory Grugan too as well. Sorry, I forgot about him. They don't really maybe flood the defence as much as Maher would. So will that suit Clevie a wee bit better if there's more space there?
I think it will. I think it will. It could lead to a more open game because Ballymacnabb, they're you know, moving the ball very quickly. As you said, the forward line that they have, you want to get the ball into that forward line very quickly because they're going to do serious damage. Calivia, in saying that, also have they're sort of naturally defensive. They seem to be naturally defensive, and I think that's something as we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, that Tommy and all are trying to move them a wee bit quicker. But I think by McNabb, wide open pitch, I think it will lead to a more responsive, sort of exciting game. You know, it should be a really good game, to be honest. Sorry, it's in Kalivi. That game's actually in
Oh,
Kalivi, so
maybe, yeah.
it's a big, you know, it'll suit them down the ground too, like being at home, like. But yeah, no, that'll be a very interesting game, you know. And if Ballymacnabb can go there and get a win, they seriously are putting themselves up there as one of the top teams, because it was a mighty performance last weekend.
I think these two, they're two of the only teams, and I should have really done my research here before saying this, but I think they're two of the only teams that have not conceded a goal yet. And just off the top of my head, I don't think St. Peter's have either. There's possibly Modern as well. They haven't conceded a goal, but I suppose we're saying about it's going to be more open on both teams. Like the attack, but the defensive shape has obviously been working out well too when they
Yeah,
haven't conceded any goals.
yeah, absolutely. As I said, Kalibi, there's a natural defensive side in them that just has been ingrained in them in this last 8, 9, 10 years. They just seem to have been quite defensive. So that's always there, and they're always going to be hard to get through and get goals against. Um, and saying that, Ballymacnabb, I think the two matches to date, you know, I don't think Mockery put enough up them in the first game. They never looked like really scoring goals. And I think same again at the weekend against Drummond. But you've still got strong, you know, Kennedy and the legs in there. They're always going to be hard to sort of break down. But the key to Ballymacnabb is if they've got the ball up at the end of the field, you know, they have the right man up there that's going to get them scores and keep the ball up there. And Rory Grugan, he just knows how, once he gets on the ball, he knows how to keep the ball. He knows when to move it quick. And it's, you know, two teams that are Ballymacnabb, especially at the moment, I think are a team going in the right direction, you know. So this is going to be a tough game now. It's going to be a tough one for Cleveland.
And who do you see coming out on top? Mark, everybody knows who I'm going to tip, but who do you see winning?
Um, this is the one I think it's going to be a tight one. But on Ballymacnab's performance last weekend, I think I'm going to go with Ballymacnab. I think I'm going to go with Ace. So yeah, they produced the first week they played well against Mockery, and last weekend they were very impressive, very impressive. So I think I'm going to. Sorry for this, Tommy and James, but it's Ballymacnab this week.
I'll not disagree with you. And then Drummond and Mahari, obviously playing Drummond, it's must win. They have to win. If they're beat, they're out of the championship. If they do win, they'll be level on points with Mahari on 2 points apiece. And they'll hope that Ballymacnab do them a favour, which would bring Clevie into it on being on 2 points as well. So if Ballymacnab win and Drummond win, then there's three teams on 2 points. So we're going to definitely need our calculators out on Saturday
I
evening.
think if Kalevi was to win that, I think then it would put and Drummond win, they would go ahead on a head to head, would they not? Would they not go through in the head to head maybe?
Possibly, I don't know. I haven't worked that out. Yeah, they would. They would be in the
Yeah,
same points as Bahrain and then go through in
yeah.
the head to head. So
So I think
both teams can
so
crash
it
out
is
here.
a lot to play for.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But Drummond was one of the teams from the week before didn't come out fighting and didn't improve. So where they're at the moment is sort of they need to give a performance against Mockery, but just over the last 2 weeks now they have been one of the you expected a whole lot more from a team that got promoted into Division 1A, and I know Ballymacnab were good, but we have to ask, where was Drummond at? How poor was Drummond as well? So um, I can't see anything here. Only after Mockery's performance last weekend, I can't see anything else. Only a Mockery win here. I know they're going to Drummond, but I was impressed by Mockery at the weekend.
yeah. I think I'm going to go with Mahari there as well. I just think Drummond did. I think they're missing four guaranteed starters nearly against Ballymacnab, and I'm not sure if the 6 day turnaround does them any favours. Possibly the rumour mill suggests that Ben Crayley's going to be home, but can't confirm that at the minute when we're recording. So, yeah, I think we're going to go for Mahari there with that one. And that'll take us into Sunday then. Mark with four more games on Sunday. Madden take on the Harps. This is in the Athletic Grounds at 4 p.m. on Sunday, and then you have Silverbridge and Shane O'Neill's then Group C as well, and that'll be live on TG4. So Madden and the Harps, Madden, a lot of injuries too, Mark, and I think that's just every team just seems to have a
Yeah,
few injuries at the minute. No Niall Grimley yet. Darren McMullen didn't play. Niall Smith and Peter Lappin only come on against Shane O'Neill's last week, but Madden had enough to get through by a point. While the Harps, they such a sucker punch for them. I'm sure that's our bridge game last week. Nobody seen it coming. We definitely didn't.
no,
So again, two teams coming in here just Madden looking to just get the win, whatever by a point or however they can get it to get through to the quarterfinals. While the Harps, they're going to have a point to prove once again, aren't they?
yeah, yeah. I think Madden, out of all the teams that we talked about the week's break, I think Madden will be the team that'll really be looking to get 2 points here to get that an extra week here to get two or three of them players back. Even the boys coming on and stuff like that, because the game was so tight. I think Madden took the risk with them. I think they just want to get over the line here, get another week or two, get them 3 or 4. Maybe by that stage, I think now it's not going to be that far away. Come if they were to get to the quarter final, now that'll and obviously be a massive boost. But where is he at regarding how much game times he got and stuff like that? But it was a real tight game for Madden at the weekend. One that they got through. But Shane O'Neill's give them a real fright. But they've got themselves in the position now. They've got themselves in the positions. They're sitting on 4 points, and it's all to play for them. And I think they'll really be gunning to get the 2 points here to get that week's break. The Harps, on the other hand, they totally threw the spanner in the works for us last week. Now they did not perform at all. Just was basically what we spoke about Silverbridge the week before. Where was their leaders? Nobody stood up for them. It was just a really, really poor performance by the Harps. And that said, Silverbridge played well and all the rest, but it was poor, very, very poor. And they'll have to ask again, just like some of the other teams the week before. Serious questions will be asked them. Serious questions will be asked of their character. What are they going to come out and show this weekend? And the Harps being the Harps, you'd like to think they're going to come out fighting and give Madden all they want.
I think the fact that the game's in the athletic grounds too, Mark, it brings like a bigger championship feel
Yeah,
to it
yeah, yeah,
nearly. Like,
yeah, yeah.
it's
Well,
maybe it maybe suits the Harps. They don't have to go to Madden too.
it really will suit the Harps. This is ideal for them, just down the road, and everyone wants to play in the athletic grounds. It's a great venue to play in. So it just adds to it all, But still on the back of how they performed last Friday nights, coming and getting up for this game is going to be a big one for the Harps, and the management, the Armagh Harps management is really has a lot of work to do this week to get them right and mentally right, because they took an awful beating in Abbey Park, and that's something that you don't normally expect to see with the Harps. No matter what sort of team they have out. So big questions have been asked to the Harps, and it's time for them to answer them this weekend against Madden.
Do you think will the Mark, or do you see Madden getting the 2 points here?
Based on that performance last week, and with the fight and the grit that Madden's showed already in the first two matches, not overly impressed, performance wise, but they're showing the fight that Madden has, and they'll always bring that to the table. And I think they'll bring it to this weekend. I think that Madden will get over the line.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Madden as well. I think they've better forwards basically when it comes down to it. I think they'll get over the line. And in the same group then Silverbridge and Shane O'Neill's. Again, Shane O'Neill's like a lot of teams, they're fighting for their lives here.
Mhm.
If they lose, they're gone from the championship. And as I say, this game is live on TG4 as well for anybody that won't make it. Silverbridge, we talked about the Clowns, what it's like in the Clowns changing room at the minute. I'm sure that Silverbridge changing room was great crack last Friday night, Mark. The
I would
confidence
say
and everything is bound to be just brimming.
I would say so. And if the Harps respond the way what I said, what's the Silverbridge, or sorry, if the Harps respond the way I give the verdict on Silverbridge last week, I'll maybe change that again. I think Harps will win. But no, Silverbridge is unbelievable. The change in performance from one week to the next. You know, Murphy and the forward line, it was just immense. Like, but all over the field, it just from the week before with no sort of leaderless, as I said, but this week it was just leaders everywhere and going forward. And every time they went forward, they looked like they were going to score. Bit of that's down to how poor maybe the Harps was and stuff like that. But really, really impressed by them. Like, really impressed. And that they showed, a team that had just won a league. They showed a team that was coming full of confidence of winning their league. There won't be, but how now do they back that up? Again, a bit like the Clans against the Cross, they've got to go this weekend and go to Shane. Or yeah, they're at there. No, they're at home to Shane O'Neill's.
Silverbridge are home, yeah.
So they're at home, and after the first week of not performing at home, there's so much for them to play for. Naturally, to get another 2 points, to be at home, not to put in a performance like they did against Madden. So and also just to back up their performance of last weekend. So yeah, it's Silverbridge is in a good place from the week before.
So Shane O'Neill's last week probably disappointed they didn't get something from the Madden game, and they might feel that they should have got at least a point. But I'm not sure if Kieran Mackin's going to be back for them, not Greg McCabe. Seemed to play a couple of different positions. I think he was full
Mhm.
forward at times and moved out the field then as well. So they're going to come, as I said, fighting for their lives, and they're going to really try to put it up Silverbridge here.
They are, and I'll tell you, I've seen most of the game last weekend. They were fighting for their lives against Madden as well. They were right in that game. Like that game could have went anyway. Uh, Connor Grimley got on a couple of real good balls at the end, and sort of just to get them, picked out the right passes, a couple of points, and was well impressed, as you said earlier, about the Madden's forward line and stuff. That sort of just got Madden over the line, maybe a wee bit more experience. But in saying that, Shane and Leeds, they were fighting for every ball. Um, just couldn't get the scores at the end just to get themselves a point or two ahead, or even to get that leveler. So Silver Blades aren't going to get anything easy against St. O'Neill's. And if Mackin was back, it would just add it all again. They would be right at them. I think it could be a real tight game. Because they've got something to play for, and it's not this. It's again, it's a derby game as such. So yeah, Shane O'Neill, Silver Blades aren't going to get anything easy against Shane O'Neill's. That's for sure. This is going to be a tight game.
But I think we're both still going to go with Silverbridge, aren't we, Mark? We
Oh,
can't we
well,
can't go
yeah.
against them
I
now
can't
after
go
last
against
week.
Silver Blades the rest of the year.
We'll be back in Silverbridge to win the championship now, so they don't make a show of us like they did last week.
Yeah.
But then into Sunday evening, then the last two games of the weekend, St Peter's and the Grange at 6:15 and Clonard and Greenmore at the same time. Two big games coming to Lurgan to finish off the round robin series of the championship. I suppose we'll start with St Peter's and the Grange. Mark, again, Grange fighting for the lives. St Peter's, they have a point after drawing with Greenmore last week, so both teams know if they lost here, they're going out of the championship.
Yeah, this is a real championship game here. Like it's do or die for both teams. Whoever wins goes through, and whoever loses is out. Um, you know, both teams. I spoke about this again last week. Was how teams responded. Both these teams responded with real fight and real character, and you knew it was in both teams. The Greens gave it anyway the week before too. The Greens, they gave them all they wanted, but again at the weekend, I was impressed by them against Clonard. They really after the first 5 or 10 minutes, they got the right the man on Turbot, and they tried to take different players, double mark different players, and done a number in some of our ways, but and so I was fairly impressed by them. St Peter's on the other hand, they've went into that Greenmore game. They've kept the game tight. They've it was Friday, I think it was 3-3 or something at half time.
3-2, I think it was the
Three
Greenmore.
two, and then as the game moved in this, it opened up a bit, and both teams went at it. And again, St Peter's, they done what they had to do. After the performance that they put in the week before, they came back. They showed a lot of character, a lot of fight in them, and some good football as well. Now McConville got himself more involved in the game, got a good few scores. McCavigan, as I said, these boys are leaders. Like they will go out and they'll fight tooth and nail to get the Peters over the line. So it's a real good point for them. Unfortunately, it rains. They've nothing to show for all their endeavours so far, because they fought hard against Greenmore, they fought hard against us, but unfortunately for them, they've come out the wrong side of it. But nothing would surprise me if the Greens got over the line on Sunday, but home advantage, I think, is going to play maybe a part here for St Peters.
I was thinking of that myself, Mark, actually, having watched it. I was at Grange and Clonard last week, and Clonard got a goal and 3 or 4 points in the first 10 minutes, which,
Mhm.
there was always that 5 or 6 point gap
Yeah,
nearly between the teams.
yeah,
If they got a goal after maybe it was 10 or 15
30
seconds,
seconds, yeah,
if it didn't happen and the game was 2 or 3 points, maybe, I'd give Grange a better chance. But I think Grange coming into this one, I just thought they were the heart and the fight they showed last week, and they're going to have to show that this week again coming into St Peters. I think they possibly could be causing upset. I think I'm going to go with them just to buck the trend, because our predictions won't work out as we have predicted them. It
yeah.
won't work out as easy as
But
that.
I ain't
So
going to go with the Grange.
Grange, yeah.
No, I'm only joking. I ain't going with St Peters.
St Peters, I go the Grange just to try to mix it up a bit this week.
Yeah, yeah.
Then the final one, Clonard and Greenmore. It's one of the games of the weekend. Probably is the biggest game of the weekend. Saying it's the league champions against last year's beaten finalists. It's on the line again. Winner takes all, really. Whoever wins this goes top of the table and goes through to the quarter final. Greenmore missing a lot of men. Mark, and I had their manager on the podcast last week. The two O'Neill brothers, Jason and Owen, are both out for the year. Darren Kiar is their sub-keeper now. He has to retire from playing out the field. And Ross Finn's in Canada at the minute. So they're missing a lot of key men, while Flannagan, they were the same last week, missing Barry McCambridge, Ryan Owens, Ryan Henderson. So I think Flannagan have a better chance of being full out this week than Greenmore will.
Yeah, you'd imagine that maybe Ryan Owens also was missing last weekend. Daggy Leaving was missing, so we had a brave number of players out. But I think what it did show for Clonerne was that we have a strength in depth. We have a lot of players there, and really, to be fair to him, has been rotating that squad all year. So he wouldn't have been not say you want to be full tilt all the time, but he wouldn't have been overly concerned that with some of the players he had to use last weekend. And you seen the likes of Declan Mallon, got the goal after 20 seconds or so, had a real good game last week. So you have these fellas here that you're always hearing about the turbos and the Barries and the TKs and all the rest, but there's an awful lot of players there. Adam Kelly as well. There's another one had a real good game. So it was good to get them boys full games and for them to sort of carry the can a bit, as well. So that would have been impressive. Rory would have been impressed by that. But at the same time, as you said, the Greens only for that goal at the start. Who knows what way that game could have went? Because Greens had a couple of opportunities and could have got in on goal and stuff. So there's a lot for Rory also to work on this week going into this game. But everybody knows that this is crunch now. This is us making get the 2 points to get in this top spot. So you'll be looking at a real big performance by Clonerne. There's sort of an improvement from last weekend. You wanted a game to be close because the week before was that you had 15 points to spare against St. Peter's. So that was a good gauge for us as well against the Greens. They showed a wee bit of fight and character against us. So we need to bring that into this weekend against Greenmore because you're guaranteeing that they're going to bring it. But I think the players that are missing, I think Ross Finn's a massive loss to them. Jason, as we said last week, again, he's their go-to man. So that's going to be big. It's going to be a big ask for Greenmore to go to Clonerne to get something out of it. But knowing Greenmore, they're going to come fight, and I'm sure there'll not be a whole pile in it. But again, I would be expecting Clonerne to get over the line.
I think we mentioned Clonerne being the league champions. I think Greenmore were one of the only teams that beat Clonerne in the championship or in the league, sorry, as well. So they're coming in with that confidence as well, knowing that they can beat. Now both teams were at full strength, I know that, but when you already
Yeah.
have one over a team in the year, it gives you a bit of confidence,
Yeah,
maybe.
and fairly deserved it. Greenmore totally deserved their win in Greenmore, with a better team on the night. And in Clonerne, again, it was a I think we ended up winning by a point, but it was nip and tuck the whole way. Now, for Greenmore, the problem is losing Ross Finn from he was playing in both them games. Kiara would have been playing in both them games. And Jason and the two O'Neills were probably playing in both them games. So what they have lost and what we have gained, we had no TK Turbo. So that'll add that a wee bit. But you're right. Greenmore will still be coming down with confidence saying we will beat them and we should have beat them the second time. So there won't be a whole pile of fear for Greenmore coming here, but again, as I say, I would still expect Clonerne to just have a wee bit too much for them.
Yeah, you go along with that. We'll go Clonerne. I think eight
Yeah,
out of eight.
yeah.
Was seven teams who agreed on their mark. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hopefully,
um,
hopefully your one is out anyway.
there'll be somebody let us down again, as
Yeah, yeah,
usually
yeah.
happens. But yeah, that's all we've now for our preview show. Obviously, we'll be back next week with another review show. We'll be looking at all the senior championship games and how everything panned out across the four groups. Thanks to Capture Athletic for coming on board for our official podcast sponsor for the club championship. And we'll look forward to coming back on hopefully on Saturday, Sunday or Monday with another review show with another special guest. So, Mark, brilliant to hear from you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks, Sean.